Mama's in the living room watching Judge Judy. I'm in the kitchen eating leftover sushi. And she yells, oh, girl, you gotta hear this one. A man was arrested for running a theme park. And when they said, where's your license? He said, my dog ate it. Oh, you can't make this shit up. Sometimes I wonder if life's just one big cosmic joke. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on her Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout, girl, you gotta hear this one. Mama loves to laugh at how absurd life is, says it's all a comedy and I'm her audience. And I love the way she makes fun of the world. She said, you'll never guess who's with their girlfriend. It was a man who didn't get us out of the bed. He said, I've been through hell and now I need some help. You just can't make this shit up. You just can't make this shit up. Sometimes I wonder if life's just one big cosmic joke. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout, girl, you gotta hear this one.
Hey everybody, it's Squid. Welcome back to the channel on this hot and humid Friday. This is going to be a interesting stream. This is one of the streams that there will be no guests, and I might not pay as close of attention to chat as I normally do, because there are some things in this world going on right now that, like, I just look at people and I'm like, what the actual fuck is wrong with you? And there are some people in this world that I'm convinced should not be parents. That being said, I will preface with this. I am not overtly political on this channel. I do talk politics from time to time. But what I like to do mostly is cut through the bullshit of what the mainstream media has said, what the social media psychotic responses are, and get to factual information, the studies, taking emotion out of it. Whatever you think of the administration in the White House right now, please leave your opinions of the person at the door and worry about the content. I actually, y'all shocked. I got like 2 hours last night to where the little was doing her own thing and playing with all of her toys everywhere. I had to clean up before we went to bed, but I got to prep for this. And when I was thinking about it and I was looking at people's responses, when did our health become so politicized? When did we stop paying attention to common sense? We stop following the science, and we start thinking about, well, that person's not a doctor. Of course that person's not a doctor. That person never fucking claimed to be a doctor. But the person is listening to doctors who did studies. And before we get started, I just want to thank you, Unhung Hero, for the $20 super chat. Our OB recommended not taking any meds at all, even Tylenol, when we first visited, way before this whole debacle. Yes. So there is going to be, and also thank you for the 20 gifted Squid Pro memberships. As always, turning the chat green. I did mention this a little bit on the members only live about what today's stream was going to be about. But first thing we are going to do is look at the press release. I'm not going through all the entire press conference because I know I have the common sense to know that Trump is a business owner. He is not a polished speaker. Obama, polished speaker. Um, JFK back in the 60s or early 60s, polished speaker. There are people who are very, very, very good at public speaking. They are very good at presenting ideas and not manipulating, but like persuasion, and how they present things is very easy to understand, very smooth talking sort of speak. Trump has never been that person. Going back to when he was getting NAACP awards, he was not the the greatest speaker. He is about as good of a public speaker as Lynette. Take that one how you will. That is not his thing. Business is his thing. He is not. So I go into every press conference with the knowledge of this is how I know that he is not a great public speaker. He says it like it is, not polished. He kind of speaks like me, where it's like it is what it is. I'm not a very polished speaker. I say things come out funky. I have to rephrase things, all of that. But people expect him to be someone who he's never been just because he is president. He has never been that guy. Look at his freaking TV show. You're Fired was like he has the best one-liners. He has the best one-liners because he's not a polished speaker. Polished speakers generally don't deliver you the one-line comedy because they don't speak like that. The people who are not polished speakers, Lynette Preston, sorry, I hate to mention What the Hales, but she's like the perfect example of that. Not a polished speaker. This is not trying to be rude to her. This is just calling it like I see it. Lots of one-liners because things come out funny. That being said, we are going to look at the press release, not the press conference, because I know I listened to the press conference. Things didn't sound professional because they just don't with him. Like they don't. That's not the kind of person he is. Yeah. And yes, and same here. However, I know certain topics require a little bit more sensitivity, and that is just not the person that he is. Even his speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial was not polished because that is not the kind of person he is. It was a good speech. I think he should have made it a little less political, but that's a topic for another day. However, that at a memorial service for a friend still wasn't a polished speech. Part of why I like him, but it's part of why I just don't listening to things is just hard for me because it's one of the reasons that it's hard for me to listen to myself. Um, because of the polished speaker thing. We are going to look at the press release from the White House and the NIH. Then we are going to move on to what the press release said, and we're going to move into what the mainstream media, how they spun it based on their headlines. And then we'll kind of get into like critical thinking and breaking apart because I have thoughts. I have thoughts. Y'all know I have thoughts. That's one of the reasons that I love having a YouTube channel. And even though I annoy the crap out of Mr. Squid with my YouTube channel, I am pretty sure he loves that I have a YouTube channel because he doesn't have to listen to me bitch about shit that he doesn't care about. Um, when COVID-19 was a thing and he was talking about how he wished it were possible to bleach remove from the body, he didn't say to drink it. He was brainstorming. He should have been live. Yeah, and that's how kind of y'all know when I speak, I ask myself questions. Um, I I I ask questions and I brainstorm as I'm reading through documents. which is one of the reasons that I can relate to why he says what he says and how he says it. Like the COVID-19 bleach. In fact, if you actually look at the ingredients in vaccines, a bleaching agent is one of the vaccines. He was not meaning actual bleach, but then you get people who don't know what is in a vaccine, and you get people who take that literally, and it's like, it's just so we are going to, because I know that yeah, and Patty, he was voted into office, be that guy, no excuses. Oh, I am I have issues with him, but, like, the way he speaks is not one of them because that's the way I speak, and that's why one of my things of, like, why I can't watch him speak sometimes is I'm like, "Oh, that's gonna be taken the wrong way. I know you're not intending it to mean it like that, but that's gonna be taken the wrong way," and I can totally relate to that. Um, "You mean having a stream stop someone from talking so much?" Yeah, well, it's because of Snipe Hunter, it's because of this. I don't talk to him about things that he doesn't care about. Before, I was trying to talk to him about court cases and this and that and this, and it's like he it goes in one ear and out the other. It's not that he's mean, he just doesn't care. Now, I can talk to it, and if it's not your cup of tea, you can leave and come back for the next one kind of a situation, whereas he's stuck. Um, and we love that Mr. Squid, love that you have a YouTube channel. Uh, yeah, I annoy him with it sometimes, but, it's just the biggest fault of anyone getting into politics is listening to those entrenched in politics for decades, and I don't think the average person realizes how much bullshit goes on behind the scenes in this country. Being a member of the military and having a certain level of access to things that some people don't have access to. Um, I learned a lot, and I learned that people who will smile to your face are generally the ones who are the biggest shit talkers and also the ones who have the most shady shit going on behind the scenes. And when people flip their opinions so quickly, I have a problem just based on who's in office. Um, if you go back and you look at some of the things that Trump says, Clinton said the same thing. Clinton said the same thing in the 90s. Hillary Clinton said this. Bill and Hillary Clinton said the same thing in the 90s. Chuck Schumer said the same thing. Nancy Pelosi says the same thing. But you get it in the sense of someone who they don't like, and all of a sudden it's this awful thing. And that's why I hate politics. I hate the media. And that's why we break down the bullshit. People have lost their ability to critically think. So we are going to. Oh, and one more thing before we start this. When I was pregnant, um, rest in peace, bless her soul. My OB passed away from her breast cancer came back. She passed away at the age of 35, never having actually had a child of her own. However, she told me that be careful of anything you take. She said, yes, if you have to take something, Tylenol may be the safest. However, we don't actually test on pregnant women for the obvious reasons because there's ethical concerns with doing health experiments and medication testing on pregnant women. Obviously, there's some ethical concerns there. I was advised against taking anything, even the things that were generally recognized as safe. Um, we will get into it. However, it's it's just uh, it's just one of those things of like critical thinking is key to everything. All right, so here is the press release. Do 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 do. There we go. I clicked on one of the links. One of the reasons I love press releases from the Department of Health and Human Services or most government agencies is they have links in their they have hyperlinks embedded in their press releases to get to other studies and things like that. Most of the time they open up in other windows. This time they did not, so I got a little confused. Ah, people have no common sense anymore. People have lost the ability to communicate. Yes, and that's one of the reasons that I talk about stuff, difficult topics on this channel, is because and one of the reasons that I always tell my chat to be respectful to me. If you don't if you disagree with me, fine, just be respectful. If you disagree with each other, just be respectful, because we will never get answers on anything if we don't talk to each other. We just will live in our echo chamber, and that's where shit goes to hell. Also, this is not there are some things that we need to Robert Kennedy, RFK Jr. did say a very valuable quote a few months ago. It was, "We need to love our children more than we hate each other." Whether you hate this administration with every ounce of your being, or you are a Trump super fan, both of which completely acceptable here, go beyond what the person who said it and look at where they got their information from. Because remember, Trump may be the one who's saying these things, but he is not the one who created the information. He doesn't go in his office and write up stuff and say, "Oh, I'm going to present this today." No, he's given information, evaluates that information with his cabinet, and makes the decision. Also, this is not a new issue. So for everybody being like, "This is new issues. This is a new issue. This is a new issue." It is not. This is the first time, and the press release will get into it. This is the first time the government has recognized it. But this is not a new issue by any means. All right. And let me do this so it's a little bigger. And President Trump and Secretary Kennedy. Oh, and also, I know I have it written down bullet points. I actually prepped. Whether you love or hate this administration for any number of reasons, parents, and I know a few, want answers. And for the first time, an administration in my lifetime is asking difficult questions. Just like when Spawn and I have sparred about the air traffic control updating plan. And Spawn kept asking, why is it taking so long? Why did it take 30 years or past where it needed to be? Because everybody passes the buck. And when love or hate this administration for the first time in my lifetime, and I turned 40 yesterday, is actually saying they're going to do things and actually following through with it. You don't have to like the plan, but you have to respect the fact that they actually say, "We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this." Asking tough questions. And you know what? When you ask tough questions, you're going to piss people off because you're going against the status quo of the last 40 years, at least. I can only speak to the last 40 because that is my age. You are going against the status quo when you ask difficult questions because everybody just wants to go with the flow. It change is bad. So when you get someone who is wanting to change things and ask questions and get answers that everybody else says they're going to do, nobody else fucking does. And here we go. We actually have somebody who is. You might not like the answers. And guess what? You can't get mad when you want someone to ask difficult questions. You can't get mad at the person asking. All right. And hey, Peachy. All right. President Trump's Secretary Kennedy announced bold actions to tackle autism epidemic September 22nd. Speaking from the Roosevelt Room, Donald Trump and U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr., and I'm going to paraphrase some of these things just for time, announced bold actions to confront nation's autism spectrum disorder epidemic, which has surged nearly 400% since 2000 and now affects 1 in 31 American children. Quote, for too long, families have been left without answers or options as autism rates have soared, Secretary Kennedy said. Today, we are taking bold action, opening the door to the first FDA-recognized treatment pathway, informing doctors and families about potential risks, and investing in groundbreaking research. We will follow the science, restore trust, and deliver hope to millions of American families. I think people that are hating on this, they're focusing on the Tylenol. But if you actually pay attention, this is way more than the Tylenol. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. First, the FDA will act on a potential treatment for speech-related deficits associated with autism. The FDA is publishing a Federal Register notice outlining a label update for leucovorin for cerebral folate deficiency, which has been associated with autism. This action establishes the first FDA-recognized therapeutic for children with cerebral folate deficiency and autistic symptoms. That is huge. That is huge. And I will play a video later that goes into exactly how I feel about this. Somebody else made this video, but it was posted by a friend of mine. It's my best guy friend, rest in peace. His aunt has a son who I've met who has autism, and she is like all for getting answers. Doesn't mean she doesn't love her son. She just wants answers to make his life better. This woman, when we'll watch the video, goes into cancer. Yes, we love our kids the way they are. However, if your kid had cancer, you'd want answers to what you can do to make their lives better or make it go away. Why is it when a kid has autism or a developmental disorder, asking questions is frowned upon, whereas if a kid has cancer, you ask questions and you get treatment and you get answers, and there's whole hospitals devoted to cancer research in children. But it's like if it's a developmental disorder, all of a sudden it's like you can't get answers. Asking questions is bad. It doesn't mean you love your kids anymore. But like when you have 22-year-olds in diapers and you have to be worried about who will take care of your child when you are gone, that is not the way a lot of parents want to live. And that is just sad for the world. It doesn't mean they love their children any less. It just means they want answers of how to make their child's life better or possibly prevent it in the future. The change will authorize treatment for children with ASD with continued use if children show language, social or adaptive gains. Following the label update for ASD, state Medicaid programs will be able to cover this leucovorin for the indication of autism spectrum in partners with CMS. There's another thing people are like completely missing with this whole situation. Updated treatment for that coverage with Medicaid. So not only will you have Medicaid coverage, it's all those people are like, well, what about treatments? People can't afford stuff. They literally just took action to make something FDA approved, so now insurance has to cover it. And people are pissed. This is where people are so short-sighted, and their hatred for one man is clouding their critical thinking. Like we're half a page into this, and we haven't even gotten to acetaminophen. Finally, the NIH will launch confirmatory trials with new research into the impact of leucovorin, including safety studies. Once again, Emphasis on safety. While promising, it is important to note leucovorin is not a cure for ASD and may only lead to improvement in speech-related deficits for a subset of children with ASD. Furthermore, this treatment must be administered under close medical supervision in conjunction with non-other pharmacological approaches for children with ASD. Applied behavioral therapy, analysis, ABA clinics are great generally. Quote, as a physician, I have seen how devastating autism spectrum disorder can be for children and their families. CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz said, quote, today's actions represent an unprecedented, comprehensive approach to deepen our understanding of the causes, share what we know and what we don't know based on current research, and ensure that every child has a better chance to thrive. Never once did they talk about kids with autism being bad, like kids with autism being a problem. It's the short-sightedness and how people twist words is one of the reasons that we read it directly from here and we cut through the bullshit. By providing access to a drug treatment symptoms associated with autism, we are providing hope to families and providers who have until today had very limited options. Second, HHS will act on acetaminophen. Today, the FDA will issue a physician notice and begin the process to initiate a safety label change for acetaminophen. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. The FDA is responding to prior clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential. And that's the other thing. People are going, well, he says it causes autism. No, there's a link. For example, if you take Tylenol, your child may not have autism. However, there's a causal link, just like there's a causal link between smoking and lung cancer. Not everybody who smokes will get lung cancer, but we have studies that have shown the link between the two. I don't want to take my chances. I quit smoking. It seems like common sense, and it's like it seems like common sense. That just but obviously correlation does not equal causation. But to go and have the response that women on social media are having, some people are not meant to be parents. Whoop. Oh. All right. FDA is responding to prior clinical laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes. FDA also recognizes that there are contrary studies to showing no association and that there can be risks for untreated fever in pregnancy for both the mother and fetus. They're not one-sided in this. They recognize that some studies show a link and some studies don't. However, it's kind of one of those things. It's like the people who go, well, driving is safe because I drove across the country and I didn't get into an accident. But yet there's somebody who can drive across town and gets hit by a car and passes away. And it's just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it's not possible. And people are so like, well, it didn't happen to me. Didn't happen to me. Well, good for fucking you. Given the conflicting literature and lack of clear causal evidence, HHS wants to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in use of acetaminophen for fevers and in pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest duration when treatment is required. Sounds like common sense to me. I've been on enough medications in my life to know about dosing, and I've taken enough pharmacology classes in college to know that the least the least milligram effective dose is always the best. You don't want to give someone 100 milligrams of something if 20 milligrams will work. That's why you start at a low dose and you taper up. If 20 milligrams and you're on it for 2 or 3 weeks and it doesn't work, you taper up. It's generally how that medication thing works, because you want effectiveness at the lowest possible dose, because for every medication that someone takes, there are side effects, and the side effects generally are not good. You see a medication for depression and you see a paragraph a mile long about the side effects. You have to weigh the cost with the cost benefit analysis. It's not it's not rocket science. And people are making it out to be, well, he's not a doctor, he can't talk about this. Dr. Oz is talking about this, for one. And second, you don't have to be a doctor to have fucking common sense, just like you don't have to be a freaking biologist to know what a goddamn woman is. If you know where that came from, you know. Because somebody who has a very high position in this country said that. If you don't that she was asked, "What is a woman?" She said, "I'm not a biologist." You don't have to be a fucking biologist to know what a goddamn woman is. Just it's like the lack of common sense and the mental gymnastics people have to go through to make their line of thinking make sense. And I am a very common sense, and I'm not calling out one side specifically, but it seems to happen one side specifically because they are the loudest group of people. They are the squeaky wheel gets the grease, so to speak, in this country. Furthermore, the FDA recognizes that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives, NSAIDs, ibuprofen, Motrin, have well-documented adverse effects. FDA is partnering with manufacturers to update labeling and drive new research to safeguard mothers, children, and families. A growing body of evidence suggests that some children suffering from autism are folate deficient within the brain, a problem that can be treated with leucovorin. That name of that drug just doesn't roll off the tongue. The FDA Commissioner, Dr. Marty McCary, said, given the extent of the current autism epidemic, physicians should immediately have this treatment option available for candidate children. Once again, candidate children. They're not saying, and I know this will get twisted, well, you're just going to give them a medication and make everything better. No, it's appropriate children. We are also sharing new information about the potential risks of acetaminophen so patients can make a more informed decision with their healthcare provider. Not once am I ever getting the impression here from reading this that said Tylenol bad, Tylenol bad, Tylenol bad, and they just preached like everybody on social media is making it seem like. Third, NIH is announcing the recipients of the Autism Science Data Initiative, funding 13 projects totaling more than $50 million to transform autism research. This is, in my view, if we're going to spend money, this is where I'd like to see it go. I mean, we're still in debt and we still have problems, but this is a good use of money, as long as these studies are actually worth a shit and going to what they say they're going to. Because we all know about the Russian cats, where the Russian cat study. ADSI integrates a large-scale biological, clinical, and behavioral data with an exposomics, excuse my English today, approach that examines environmental, nutritional, medical, and social factoring alongside genetics. Oh, a multifactorial study. I love it. We get so focused on, well, this doesn't cause it. No, it's like, what if it's our food, your genetics, combined with the food we eat, combined with the medication that your mother took while she was pregnant, combined with the medications and all the vaccines, it may not be one thing, but it might be a compounded effect. Not everything is so simple. Projects employ advanced methods such as machine learning and organoid models, address both children and adults across the lifespan, and establish replication hubs to ensure rigor. Each project includes community engagement to align research with the needs of autistic individuals, families, and clinicians. Millions of American families who care for autistic kids need scientists to apply gold standard science, expertise, and open minds to figure out how to help these kids. NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya said, with the Autism Science or Data Science Initiative, NIH is harnessing cutting edge science to uncover the root causes of autism. We are building knowledge that can improve lives and restore hope for families. And they have a big old fact sheet. Autism prevalence in the US, 1 in 31 children born in 2014 are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And in the DSM-5 and the DSM-5 TR, they took, which was around 2014. So some of the statistics may be a little off. The DSM-4 had what Elon has, Asperger's. The DSM-4 had Asperger's as a separate diagnostic code. Well, the DSM-5 combined it into autism spectrum. So a lot of these kids might have a very mild Asperger's type syndrome, which Elon Musk has. And you can see how he functions. It's just a little social awkwardness. So some of the numbers might be skewed based on how how the data is presented. I would love to see I would love to see what these statistics look like if we were still using the DSM-4 and not the DSM-5. I tend to lean more to one side, but I also call bullshit and manipulated statistics when I see it. I don't know if this is a manipulated statistic. However, based on what I know from psychology and the DSM, possibly. There is a good possibility that it could be, not through any fault of the government or these doctors specifically, but whoever decided to put Asperger's syndrome into autism spectrum disorder. So, sharp increase from 1 in 36 just 2 years earlier. This is where manipulated statistics, when they say this, I'm like, well, 2 years earlier, they were using the DSM-4. So, prevalence nearly 5 times higher than when CDC began tracking in 2000, 1 in 150. Boys disproportionately affected, and I'd like to know why. And California, the highest prevalence, 1 in 12.5. Also, leads me to ask questions. Is it California and everything that California has been doing? How are they diagnosing? Or is it something in California's ecosystem, environmental factor? Or is it just that there's more vegans out there and that might be cost? It could be anything. I don't know. It's just, hey Juliet, yeah, you've mentioned that before. And he's such a cutie, by the way. It's just one of those things of like, I feel like people in this country have put their hatred for one person over getting answers. And it's like, I would assume, and correct, I usually don't assume, but I would think that you love your child no matter what. However, you would like to help him as much as possible. And sorry, I'm just using you as an example because you mentioned it and you're here. Um, so it's one of those situations of if you could make his symptoms better, you would as a parent. You just want to protect, you know. And Davina, thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you for covering this topic. I like to talk about different things, but this is from someone who I could never work with children. I did a pediatric rotation in college, and I learned that working with children is not for me because I get too emotionally invested. However, I also hate the media because I think the media spins shit. Um, and people take things out of context, as we've seen with the events of September 10th. So I like to break it down. And if I'm going to break it down and educate myself, um, we why not educate everybody else too? Um, oh, Larry, I want to thank you, Squid. This needs to be talked on. Yeah, and it's just kind of one of those. It's a multifactorial stream too, because there's like it's it's just it's it's just such a, and I'm so convinced that um it, I'm so convinced that some people in this world do not have the mental capabilities to be parents. Sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, how am I doing this every day? Um, but it's just one of those things of like, if you are putting yourself in harm's way, even if it's a 5% chance, say it's 5%. I'm not putting an exact number on it. I'm just spitballing for the sake of making a point. If it's a 5% chance that me taking Tylenol is going to 5% increase in the chance that my child is going to have a neurological defect or deficit growing up, I'm gonna no, I'm gonna suffer through a headache. Like, I'm not going to take it because it's my responsibility as a parent to do anything I can to protect my child, whether she's 16 or 6 months of gestational age. And no, I'm not pregnant, by the way. Um, so like, I don't understand why people are going and trying to prove a point. It doesn't make any sense to me. Speak of the devil child herself. So I don't understand people's, yeah. And then Luca Vorin, I will put this fact sheet and these will all be in the description of the video. That is the only thing I didn't prep for, is putting these things in the description of the video like I do sometimes. A friend of mine is bipolar, nothing was working, running a DNA test, found out her body wasn't producing folic acid, her body wasn't absorbing the medicine as prescribed. Oh yeah, nothing that makes total sense. Um, that makes total sense. And I had to do medication changes because I was on some medications, like the one I'm on now. Um, the one I'm on now, um, I'm on 20 milligrams or 25 milligrams once a day. I was on like 150 milligrams twice a day. One of my headaches were really bad. But like, um, I literally was discussing changing it, and my nurse practitioner said she would talk to the VA's OB, and I got a letter in the mail, and I will never forget the way this was worded. Your current medication regimen is not conducive for fetal life. Like, nothing puts it in a realistic terms like that. And Kim, how are you this afternoon? Uh, it's it's a it's a thing. So there's that. We're going to get through that. I posted it in case you want to look at it more thoroughly. So the Associated Press, in their infinite wisdom, Trump makes unfounded claims about Tylenol and repeats discredited link between vaccines and autism. President Trump on Monday used the platform of his presidency to promote the unproven and in some cases discredited ties between Tylenol vaccines and autism, as his administration announced a wide-ranging effort to study the causes of the complex brain disorder. So they contradict themselves in their own opening paragraph. Wide-ranging effort to study the causes of autism. You literally just said he was trying to do something good while also trying to make him seem like an asshole. It's just, don't take Tylenol, Trump instructed pregnant women around a dozen times during the unwieldy White House news conference. Yeah, but also you saw that the press release said talk to your doctors and take as little as the doctors who were actually talking said to talk to your doctors and try to take as little as possible, the lowest effective dose. Also urging mothers not to give their infants the drug, known by the generic name acetaminophen in the US or paracetamol in most other countries. He also fueled the long debunked claim that ingredients in vaccines or timing of shots close together could contribute to rising autism in the US without providing any medical evidence. Well, one, he's not a doctor, so take what he says with a grain of salt. But even Jim Carrey and Jenny McCarthy went on Larry King Live, and when I find the clip again, because I forgot to link it before it disappears from the internet, asking questions about the timing of vaccines. Why do infants need a hepatitis B vaccine? And Rand Paul was talking about this too. Need a Hep B vaccine the day after they're born, when Hep B is spread through sharing of pokey things and Smexy time. Neither one of those a newborn baby has done, and with all the blood work that gets done in a mother, you would know if she has Hep B, which would need treatment for the child. Makes total sense, but it's just, ugh. Yeah. Oh yes, remember Fauci was a doctor too. Remember Fauci was a doctor. And another reason that I'm covering stuff like this is I hate our healthcare system. I worked in healthcare. I worked in a 700-ish bed hospital for 6 years. I was gaslit by doctors for years saying, your symptoms aren't real. Your symptoms aren't real. Here, take this medication, without ever trying to find the root cause of my problem. The root cause of my problem was my brain was falling out of my skull. My brain was herniated out of my skull by 7.5 millimeters. There's the root cause. So generally, instead of masking my symptoms with freaking medications, thank God for the one doctor who was like, hey, I know what you have. Let's figure out how to take care of it. And I think your only option is surgery. Here's a referral to a specialist. But since then, I am on 1/3 of the medications that I was on prior to surgery. Oh, look, because they found the fucking root cause. So I am so tired of I am so tired of being gaslit by doctors who think they are smart and they know everything because they have a fucking doctor. I have 10 letters behind my name. COTA, certified occupational therapy assistant, clinical lymphedema specialist, and certified corrective exercise specialist. I have 10 fucking letters behind my name. The amount of letters behind your name or your title does not mean shit when it's how you treat people and how you actually go about looking at the research. Hey, badass, it's no longer your birthday. Get after it. I'm working on it. This is my snack today. I have popcorn, but it's like the white cheddar stuff, so it's not bad. And I've cut my my caffeine intake. Yes, it's a poppy soda, but yeah. Oh yes. Remember they did change the definition of vaccine in 2020 or so. There were a few before polio, measles, mumps, rubella. Yeah, now there was a flu shot, now it's also misnamed a vaccine. Yeah, and the, uh, uh, the fact that a vaccine, it's I don't know. I am not anti-vax, but I am anti doing your research, or I'm for doing your research and making what is best decisions based on your family and not letting someone bully you into figuring things or, so link to the full address is in your DMs. Thank you. Yeah, and Heidi, I got into why I generally don't watch a lot of his press conferences is because he's very verbose and that's just the kind of person he is, and it skips. People focus more on that instead of the purpose. So I look at like the press release, um, the rambling announcement, and I can't fault him for this because I do this shit every day. I'm like, oh, I prepped for this. I have a timeline and an outline of how I want to get to things, and I still ramble, which appeared to rely on existing studies rather than significant new research. We will get to that. So I'm fact checking this article as we go. Comes as the Make America Healthy movement has been pushing for answers on the causes of autism and what exactly is the problem with this. The diverse coalition of supporters, Health Secretary RFK Jr. includes several anti-vaccine activists who have long spread debunked claims that immunizations are responsible. I've never actually heard anyone say that they're a direct cause. I've heard people say they could be a cause, and it's worth looking into whether they are a cause, and we can't deny that vaccine injury happens. People want to talk about the fact that vaccine injuries aren't real. Hmm. Uh, the announcement also sheds lights on Trump's own long-held fascination with autism and his trepidation about the childhood vaccine schedule. Even as the president has taken pride in his work to disseminate COVID-19 vaccines during his first term, not correlated, not correlated. And also, if I'm not mistaken, his position on this COVID-19 vaccine has changed as well. Um, they were trying to make the COVID-19 vaccine mandatory for 6-month-olds. I'm sorry, a healthy 6-month-old does not need a COVID vaccine. My daughter had COVID at 6 months. She is fine. 65 and older who have multiple comorbidities and who COVID could be a real life-threatening, it like, holy crap, it could do some damage up to or including ending your life. Um, it's probably appropriate. Like, I told my mom, I'm like, "I'm not getting it because 'cause I'm generally healthy other than the neurological stuff. My lungs, my heart, all that stuff is healthy. I'm not going to get it, but my parents who are getting older, who have some comorbidities, totally appropriate." Yeah, and, this too, this this too. I'm not I don't have a problem with individual vaccines. I'm wondering if the combination of them, if, like, combining all these vaccines into 1 or 2 shots, if that does anything. So, having them combined is where vax injuries are more prevalent per the viable research I've done as a CMA. And I would love to for you to share that research and show me because I that would have been my guess, like my informed opinion, but based on, you know, one, having a child, two, just being knowledgeable and a little bit knowledgeable in pharmacology. I'm not a nurse, I'm an occupational therapy assistant. However, the more the more medications you were on and the more you take together, generally the more side effects that you incur. Whereas like if you take one one pill in the morning, one pill at lunch, and one pill at night of 3 different medications, you generally don't have as many side effects. But I notice when I take 2 medications together, I'll have more side effects. It's common. It's for me, it's common sense. But I haven't actually seen any research on that. It's just my lived experience. Medical experts said Trump's remarks were irresponsible. NYU bioethicist Art Kaplan said the saddest display of lack of evidence, rumors, and recycling old myths, lousy advice, outright lies, and dangerous advice I've ever witnessed in anyone in authority. Anyone from any New York university or anywhere in New York, I take their I take their opinion with a large grain of salt. We're talking like Himalayan rock salt. Trump announced during the event that the FDA would begin notifying doctors that the units. See here, they contradict themselves. That the use of acetaminophen, quote, can be associated with an increased risk of autism, but did not immediately provide justification for the new recommendation. It's a press conference. It's not it's not where you get all the information. It's where you get the overview. But here's where here's a big problem with this article. Evidence for potential link between Tylenol and autism is not conclusive. It's going back to the just because I smoke doesn't mean I'm going to get cancer. However, smoking increases your likelihood of cancer. It's that argument of like, well, it didn't happen to me. It doesn't happen. It's like, fuck, man. Sorry about my language. Sometimes you look at how this is written and it debunks itself. And it's like you just look at what, like, how these things are written. And this is why we read them, but we also break them down. We don't just read them and take them at face value. Some studies have raised the possibility that taking acetaminophen during pregnancy might increase the risk of autism, but many others haven't found that concern, said autism expert David Mandel of the University of Pennsylvania. Okay, some have. There right there would be enough to raise a red flag. And all they are doing is raising a red flag. Do I think it was a little I think Trump is verbose and says shit that he shouldn't all the time. Like, it's going to be the greatest ever. Like, is it in reality going to be the greatest ever? Probably not. But that's his personality, and you can't, after 70 some odd years of that personality, you can't change it. But sometimes I wish it would be like, just get to the point. But I can, if you take that part of his personality and you go, yeah, that's just Trump, and get to the actual heart of what he is trying to do, he appears to be a lot better person than a lot of people give him credit for. So, you know, like if you take that part of his personality and just go, yeah, that's Trump, it's whatever. Like, that's just him. And then you actually, like, let your emotions get out of the way. You let your hatred for his personality get out of the way, and you actually take what is being said. It's see, and here's where my doctor, her mentality was. One challenge is that it's hard to disentangle the effects of Tylenol use from the effects of high fevers during a pregnancy. Fevers, especially in the first trimester, can increase the risk for miscarriages, preterm birth, and other problems, according to Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine. That's where you have to weigh the risks with the potential benefits. You have to do a risk-benefit analysis. I don't know, it's a business thing. But it's like, do the benefits of taking a certain medication or doing a certain action outweigh the costs? It's like when you take any medication, even when you're not pregnant. It's, yeah, this might help with my migraines, but now I'm going to be nauseous every damn day. I'm not going to be able to eat. I'm not going to be able to sleep because it keeps me up at night. Like, I would rather deal with a migraine than be nauseous all the time. Like, so, okay, tell my doctor, hey, I'm nauseous all the time on this medication. I'm not taking it. And we find something else. It's not like people are making it out to be like it's this huge freaking thing. And it's really just common sense. Yeah, well, that's before I found out that my a lot of my headaches were not migraines. They were my brain herniation. And when it's not just the brain herniation and every time you move your head you compress your brain tissue, but now you restrict the flow of cerebral spinal fluid to the rest of your spine. And it creates multitudes of issues and pain and stuff like that. But we're not even going to yeah. Uh, yeah. Trump's not forcing me to do a vax. He's promoting self-protection, fair choices. He's revealing a lot of nonsense. And that's the thing. And I always get it. And I go back to the whole like Doge thing. When people are more pissed off at the people finding the corruption than the people being corrupt, this world has a major problem. And it's like we're letting our hatred for one person get in the way of our critical thinking. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. However, we're going to read this last paragraph, and Trump explores the potential role of folate. We're going to skip that because that's not the heart of what we're talking about here. Trump also urged not giving Tylenol to young children, but scientists say research indicates autism develops in the fetal brain. I am all for not giving my child anything that she doesn't need. Like we will give her Tylenol when it's appropriate, or ibuprofen or anything, or when it's necessary. However, I just don't give her medication for the sake of giving her medication, because that to me is like a form of child the word I really can't say on YouTube. Yeah, but starts with an A and it rhymes with obtuse. So I just don't give her anything that I don't like. If she bumps her arm, some parents would run out and get her Tylenol real quick. No, we'll start with an ice pack and like make sure that, okay, if you got a little bit of a bruise, that's okay, because you're 3 and that's what happens. If she like busts her face and is like in major pain and is like freaking inconsolable crying, then yes, we will give her stuff. I say but it's us. It's a we thing. It's not just a me. I'm home more because it's my job, but it's a we thing. But we start with the non-pharmacological stuff like an ice pack. Like it's just, uh, yes, there is also evidence that reducing fevers can stop the body from fighting infections as well. That's been known for years and is thought to be part of the issues in the 1918 flu. Aspirin was overused. Yeah, I think there's like a fine line there. It's like if it's too high, and especially if you're, pregnant, it's a little bit more of a concern, um, in my opinion. Like, but it's one of those like you have to weigh, and not every person is the same either. Um, but here's where it gets interesting. Um, so responding to Trump's warnings, the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine said it still recommends Tylenol as an appropriate option to treat fever and pain during pregnancy. The president of the American Colleges of Obstetricians and Gynecologists said on Monday that suggestions that Tylenol use in pregnancy causes autism are irresponsible when considering the harmful and confusing message they send to pregnant patients. But here's the thing. Pregnant patients, if they hear that, should immediately go to their doctors and be like, hey, I heard this. What is your recommendation? It's it seems to think and imply that pregnant patients are stupid, which Apparently, a lot of them on TikTok are. We'll get to that. But harmful and confusing message they send to pregnant patients. No, it's called talk to your doctors. It's called talk to your doctors. Talk to your doctors. Like, it's here's the research. If you're concerned, take the research to your doctor and be like, I saw this, I heard this, this is the research, this is the study. My doctor would look at it and go, well, here's my problem with this. Here's my problem with this. Or I think this is a good, like, use critical thinking. You don't just make decisions on your own when you're pregnant. You don't make any damn decisions on your own when you're pregnant. Like, oh shit. Yeah, and Marsh, we'll get to that too. Um, there's lots, but I just want to get to um this last paragraph right here. Um, Trump Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement Monday evening, the administration does not believe popping more pills is always the answer for better health. And it's like for me, popping more pills wasn't the answer. It was finding out that I had a brain condition and fixing the brain condition. And guess what? I pop about a third of the amount of pills. Now it's more like, fish oil and magnesium and things like that, vitamins. I don't like to take a multivitamin. I like to take things individually. So it looks like a lot. But the actual prescription medications I have are two: an allergy medication, well, three: allergy medication and my headache medication, and then one other one. But on like limited doses. Limited doses. It's so nice to take limited doses of stuff. It is great. Whereas like the medication I'm on now, before my surgery, I was on 150 milligrams twice a day, which is like the max dose for me. Now I'm on 20 milligrams once a day. It is freaking amazing to be on such a tiny little dose. It's amazing. This is where it gets funny though. Tylenol maker Kenvue disputed any link between the drug and autism on Monday and said in a statement that pregnant mothers don't use Tylenol when in need. They could face dangerous choice between suffering fevers or using riskier painkiller alternatives. Shares of Kenvue Inc. fell 7.5 in trading Monday, reducing the company's market value by about 2.6 billion. I don't believe anything that the maker of a drug says when they are publicly traded. Look at this. They lost $2.6 billion. Of course, they're not going to be like, yeah, our product is possibly linked to autism. Oh, so it's like the fact that they put this and they actually admitted that in an article by the AP is like, you just told on yourself again. If you told on yourself again, you just admitted that the maker of the drug lost money. Of course, they're not going to tell you that. Of course, they are not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that their drug is not safe because they're losing money. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. But here, the article said that let's see, that they were using old studies, which appeared to rely on existing studies rather than significant new research. Welcome to Harvard, August 20th of 2025. August 20th of 2025. Yes, old research. Yes, old, outdated research from a month ago. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And you kind of know that, but for them to so blatantly put it in an article shows you that the people who read that article have no critical thinking skills. However, according to, and I've even done this, the definition of critical thinking: the act or practice of thinking critically as by applying reason and questioning assumptions. And related to science, the data is never settled. Science is never settled. That's the great thing about science. That's why they call it practicing medicine, because it's never set in stone. Things change all the time. In order to solve problems, evaluate information, and discern biases. Whoever wrote that article has assumed that nobody reading it would have critical thinking skills. However, this was from Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, Child and Maternal Health. Using acetaminophen during pregnancy may increase children's autism and ADHD risk. August 20th of 2025. When children are exposed to acetaminophen, also known by the name brand Tylenol or as paracetamol, during pregnancy, they may be more likely to develop neurodevelopmental disorders, NDDs, including autism and ADHD, according to a new study. This study, and I will link the study, was published August 14th in BMC's Environmental Health. Andrea Beccarelli, Dean of Faculty at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health and Professor of Environmental Health, was the senior author. The study was led by the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai and also included co-authors from other institutions. Hey, not good with names. Their target readers don't have critical thinking skills. And that is part of my goal. That is part of my goal with this. Not to say that anybody watching this is stupid, and I don't want to imply that. However, this might be information that somebody didn't hear. If they were just watching the mainstream media and didn't research themselves. And I know not everybody has the time to research, so I will do that for you. Hey, King Paco, how are you? I just came to say hello, and how are you guys? Oh, we are talking autism and Tylenol and how the world has lost its ever loving damn mind. The researchers analyzed results from 46 previous studies. I love meta-analysis, study of studies, because when you look at meta-analysis, that's how you know they weren't just short-sighted and focused on their own goals. They were looking at many studies from many places. It's great. It's great. I hope this is not a stupid question, but will you be posting this in the Discord? I will. I will. They analyzed results from 46 previous studies worldwide, not just in the US, worldwide, which I love too, because people around the world have different ethics, morals, issues with funding, money, things like that. So when worldwide studies are done, I take it more seriously because of the fact that maybe another country doesn't have the corruption with a group of physicians being paid for, and the study being paid for by Pfizer. Well, yeah, that's why. But here's the thing: we don't know when all 46 of those were. So it's stupid and it's wrong to assume. So the researchers used the navigation guide systematic review methodology, and a meta-analysis is always a review of older studies but we also don't know how long these studies were, but we'll get into that. Because this could have been a study, one of these studies could be 10 years long. So it started in, say, 2014, but it ended in 2024. So you look at it as old research in 2014, but no, it's a study that just concluded. So it's like, but it's how they're spinning the research. And it's one of those things that, like, Trump said. No, actually, Harvard did. And Johns Hopkins, but we'll get into that one too. A gold standard framework for synthesizing and evaluating environmental health data, which enabled them to conduct a rigorous, comprehensive analysis that supported evidence of an association between acetaminophen exposure during pregnancy and an increased incidence of NTDs. The researchers noted that while steps should be taken to limit acetaminophen use, the drug is important for treating pain and fever during pregnancy. It's one of those things, weighing the benefits with the cost, but not taking it every time you get a minor headache. Like, oh, I have a little bit of a headache, I'm going to take some Tylenol. No, do you really need to take a medication? It's like every time do you have a little bit of a stomach ache, do you run for the Pepto-Bismol? Probably not. It's people run to medications too fast, in my opinion, and always want a medication to make things better instead of doing the work to make things better. Which can also harm a developing fetus. High fever can raise the risk of neural tube defects and preterm birth. We recommend judicious acetaminophen use, lowest effective dose, shortest duration under medical guidance, tailored to the individual risk-benefit assessments rather than a broad limitation. It's individualized. Individual. And that's it. It's not a broad, yes. Oh, yes. I love my risk-benefit analysis. Like, you can use it for anything. In late September, the FDA announced it would issue a letter to clinicians urging them to be cautious about the use of acetaminophen in pregnancy. They knew that this announcement was coming. Beccarelli cited that he had discussed his study with HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the weeks leading up to the announcement and provided the White House team with a statement noting his research found evidence of an association between prenatal exposure to acetaminophen and neurodevelopmental disorders. But the association is strong enough when acetaminophen is taken for 4 weeks or longer. And this is why it's important. This story was updated September 23rd. Okay. I like that context. Sometimes I really wish that they would put this at the top. The statement continued, further research is needed to confirm the association and determine causality, but based on existing evidence, I believe that caution about acetaminophen during pregnancy, especially during heavy or prolonged use, is warranted. Harvard, not Trump. Harvard, generally people who don't like Trump. I'm just remember putting that out there, like Harvard in general does not like Trump. So if they are saying this and Trump is repeating what they have said, I mean, just. Beccarelli noted in the competing interest section of the research paper that he has served as an expert witness for plaintiffs in a case involving potential links between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and neurodevelopmental disorders. And read Mount Sinai's press study. What I am going to do is we're going to stop sharing this, and I will have all these links in the description too. But remember, these are studies that are not from the president. These are studies from colleges that generally don't like Trump. Remember, most colleges don't like Trump. So it's interesting that they're and not good with names, yes. People forget Trump is business, so he's sales pitching as opposed to public speaking. That is true too. That's very true as well. However, this is from Johns Hopkins, November 5th, 2019. So not that old. Not that old. Taking Tylenol during pregnancy associated with elevated risk for autism, ADHD. This study I like because and this press release I like because they get into the why. Johns Hopkins study analyzing umbilical cord blood samples found that newborns with the highest exposure to acetaminophen were about 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD or ASD in childhood. This is November 5th, 2019. New study from researchers at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health have found that exposure to acetaminophen in the womb may increase a child's risk for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or autism spectrum disorder. The researchers analyzed data from the Boston Birth Cohort, a 20-year study of early life factors included influencing pregnancy and child development. They found that children whose cord blood samples contained the highest levels of acetaminophen, the generic name for the drug Tylenol, were roughly 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD or autism disorder later in childhood compared to children with the lowest levels of acetaminophen in their cord blood. There's a in the link I DM'd to that address that had MD speaking as well, not just Trump. LOL, delayed response. I'm finally on my PC. No worries. I appreciate it, and I will post it. It'll be one of the links that I post. It's just one of those. Everybody's so focused on Trump. Yeah, there was even doctors like Dr. Mike. I used to take what Dr. Mike said I take what doctors say with a grain of salt because I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. But it's like your TDS is showing. Your TDS is showing. The findings were published last week in JAMA Psychiatry. Previous studies have found an association between maternal use of acetaminophen during pregnancy and increased risks of adverse childhood outcomes, including neurodevelopmental disorders such as ADHD, which is marked by hyperactivity, difficulty paying attention, or controlling impulsive behavior. And autism spectrum disorder, a complex developmental disorder that can affect how a person socializes, communicates, and behaves. Because these studies relied on mothers self-reporting their acetaminophen use, critics have said the findings may be affected by recall bias or lack of an objective measure of in utero exposure. As a result, the FDA had refrained from making recommendations regarding acetaminophen during pregnancy. Remember, for those of people are like, well, he's just doing this. Okay, let's do it a little timeline here. Let's let's do a little timeline here. So November 5th of 2019, who was president? November 5th of 2019. Oh, look, Trump. And because of that, as a result, the FDA had refrained from making recommendations regarding the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy. So Trump's first administration did not make this recommendation based on this study, even though they knew about it. So for those of Trump's just doing this, Trump had the opportunity to do this whole situation back in 2019, and he did not. ADD and ADHD are now lumped together in the DSM-5. ADD, inattentive brain versus hyperactive. That there is another DSM-5 change. I had a DSM-4 back in the day, back in college. The DSM-5 hadn't come out yet, and let alone the DSM-5 TR. So, it's just like when people are so short-sighted and want to be like Trump. Trump's FDA had the opportunity to do this same press conference in 2019, and they chose not to because they didn't think the research was compelling enough. So that should tell you about the study that Harvard did and Mount Sinai did that turned the page. Because even though people might not agree with RFK Jr., he doesn't make any decision without clearing it with Trump. Remember that. Like, he works for Trump. So he had to talk to Trump about this. And Trump had this information in 2019 from the FDA and chose not to. So put it all into the problem is people think so short-sighted, and it's like, if you think about the big picture and this statement right here is very telling to me as far as how this all went down. As a result, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has refrained from making recommendations regarding the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy. Fast forward 6 years. He was also ill-advised by certain people in his first administration who had to learn who he couldn't trust in the alphabet agencies, including, WHO, FDA, CDC, etc. That's true too. So, yeah. I will, this video that I'm going to show wasn't made by, it wasn't made by my friend, but she reposted it. And as a result, I reposted it. So I'm going to, open it up and let's go to my, hey, my, one of my professors commented on my page. All right. I have to go to my Facebook. I'm just making sure I'm not doxing myself. Let's see. I have to get through all these birthday which I'm by no means mad about. I'm just having to here we go. Let's share this tab instead. So here's a video that I'm going to show about what some parents are talking about this. Come on.
A couple things. Number one, to the women who are pregnant out there chewing Tylenol like it's candy, something is seriously wrong with you. You think that doing that, you're going to stick it to the man? Where was the same outrage on honey and lunch meat and alcohol? Okay, don't you avoid certain things when you're pregnant already? So you overdosing on Tylenol to prove some point there is something mentally wrong with you, and you need a well check. Number two, to the people out there who are saying, I love my child just as they are. Of course we do. Our children are so perfect, right? They're made in God's image. They're make us better parents because of their disabilities. I 100% believe that. But if you think for 1 second that a parent of a child with special needs wouldn't take that from their child in a split second, lying to yourself, and you were trying to out-virtue the Tylenol eating lunatic. It's as if your child had cancer. Of course they're perfect just they are. Wouldn't you take that from them? Yes. So as a mother with special needs, if I could take my son's disabilities and fix them or improve them or whatever, I would do it at any cost. At any cost. Number three, to the people out there who are like, I stand with the mothers, it's not your fault. We know it's not our fault, right? We are doing the best we can as parents, except the girl who's chewing Tylenol, that's your fault. But of course, we're doing the best we can. We know it's not our fault, but we want answers, and we want to feel vindicated, and we want to feel heard, and we want to know how can we avoid this? How can other people avoid this, right? We also want, we just want clarity, okay? We literally just want clarity, because I have laid at night wondering, was it the way he was born? Like he had a traumatic birth. Maybe that was it. Maybe it's something I did during pregnancy. Maybe it's genetic. I don't know. We just want answers. Maybe it was the vaccines. Maybe it was Tylenol because we didn't know any better. There's nothing wrong with asking those questions. And to be made feel like A, you're insane, B, you're a villain, is such gaslighting. It's incredible. And some of you guys have so much pride and have doubled down. You just can't see straight. And you're acting an absolute fool. And you have no room to stand and no room to say anything. And it's like you're trying to out-virtue your insane neighbor who's popping Tylenol like they're chiclets, okay? You guys are nuts.
I like how the not autocorrect, but the subtitles did called chiclets, chickens. Uh Overdosing on Tylenol is a sure way to destroy your liver. To make it damaged liver cells, they subject those cells to acetaminophen due to how fast it works. Oh, we will get to that. We will get to that. And hey, Angry Vet, hope you had a good birthday. Sent you an email. I responded to your email, I think, or did you send me another one? It's we will get to we will get to that. I'm just closing all of these tabs that I have open so that I can. You know, when you have too many tabs open, it's like your brain goes nuts because of the um it's 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 just a my brain goes absolutely nuts. But just in case we needed another one, this is one that I found on my own. This is not one that I was presented with anywhere. I researched this one on my own. I think evaluation of this is this was the study. Evaluation of the evidence on acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders in the navigation guide methodology. This is this study. This was from, and I did download the PDF of this. So I will be posting this in the Discord as well. So it goes into study selection. We conducted a systematic PubMed search of the literature on February 2nd through 25th, 2025 to identify original papers on the relationship between ADD or ADHD, ASD, and NDDs and prenatal exposure to acetaminophen, including observational studies and meta-analysis. It's so they did the work. It's just after identifying exclusionary. After identifying relevant studies with the above search criteria, we excluded studies that presented results from the same data and were published in 2 different journals with slight differences. That I appreciate. So it's just one of these. Yeah, oh yeah, multiple tabs and multiple windows. Holy, that's even worse. So I do have I clicked on the link and have the study. Snipe Hunter, thank you for being here and have a good night. It is just one of those things where I have so many things open that it was like, but I actually prepped. So this closing. Just closing extra stuff that I don't need. But this is this is a 5-minute video. I like this creator. I don't always agree with her, but for the most part, she makes some really good points. So it's
I don't even know how to start this video because
this goes back to AT1's comment about acetaminophen in your liver.
there's too much crazy stuff going on. Way too much. I don't really get into politics because I don't do politics because I believe in the matriarchy and the patriarchy need to fall. And I don't believe in Democratic and Republican because it all leads to one country. So, but anyway, I'm going to talk about this now. So, Trump said something about Tylenol, which I knew years ago because they're late and people have been protesting this a long time. We all know what Tylenol does. We all know you're not supposed to take Tylenol when you're pregnant. My doctor told me that, and my daughter is 15 years old.
So her daughter's 15. Her doctor told her not to take Tylenol when she was pregnant 15 years ago. It's not new. So for everybody to be acting like this is, oh my God, Trump, Trump, Trump. It's like, no, bitches. No, it's not the way shit works.
Was 16 years ago. So the doctor told me, do not take Tylenol while you're pregnant. And I keep hearing about Tylenol. They even have a documentary on Netflix about it. So you know Tylenol is dangerous. Just because the orange man said it, some liberal girl, pregnant, 23 weeks, took a handful of fucking Tylenol. Guess what happened? She passed and they had to take the baby out and the baby's in the NICU.
Last I had heard, she was still, this is the first time that I heard she had actually passed, but last time I had looked at it, but this announcement was on Monday, which was the 22nd. So between the 22nd and this was posted yesterday, the 25th, that's how quickly it killed her liver. She did it, her hatred for one man, her hatred for one man ended the life of her and her baby. Well, she said the baby's in the NICU, but I've heard conflicting reports. So I will assume the best for right now and hope that the baby's in the NICU. But like, your hatred for one man took away all critical thinking skills. And this is why I try not to make decisions based on emotion, because shit like this happens.
And this is why they say everybody can't be fucking parents. Because you can't be that mentally deranged about Trump that you defy something he said. This man is so far from you. You don't gotta watch him. Yeah, he's fucking up the country or doing whatever, but he's like, if you sit there and take everything on that he does, and if you have a mental illness, you're gonna rebel. And you're gonna rebel in the worst way. And people rebel and they're feeling the cost. Like the lady had liver failure. It clearly says on the bottle that you can get liver failure from taking too much Tylenol.
Yeah, I don't agree in general with this creator most of the time on her political views, but a spade is a spade. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. Like, yes, the literal TDS is like it's just one of these.
So
like
So when I saw liberal women were taking Tylenol during their pregnancies to stick it to Donald Trump, I jokingly said, natural selection. Well, now there's a woman who's 25 weeks pregnant who overdosed on Tylenol last night and is now not gonna live, and neither is her baby. So when I saw liberal women were
Look, and I'm not going to show the people taking Tylenol. We've all seen it, dancing around, fucking saying after whatever. It's just like, I swear some people were just not meant to be parents. Some people just don't have the mental fortitude and the cognitive maturity to be parents. And it sucks because there are some people in this world that want children so bad and cannot have them. And then you get people like this that are pregnant and do the dumbest shit. Like, I just, if it's happening, I can see idiots doing it, but I'm not seeing good proof of it. It's, hold on, let me look at this. So, it's almost to the point where I swear and I don't recommend this by any means, but I swear if Trump said oxygen was good for you, there would be people putting bags over their head to prove him wrong. I swear there's something in the freaking, if you have a septum piercing, I swear it just screams unhinged to me.
I threw myself at the massage.
It's sad that that's even like it's sad that you have to tell people not to do that. I mean, I, of course, probably have to tell my 3-year-old to not to do that, but she's 3. To have to tell grown people not to put, like, and I don't generally post on TikTok, but if you want to follow me on TikTok, I might start. Um, and then you have people like Amy Bacon. I love Amy Bacon. If you don't follow Amy Bacon, she's amazing. She's amazing. Yes, they are seriously eating Tylenol. One lady killed herself. She overdosed. And apparently, according to that other poster, her baby's in the NICU. I have not seen anything. I have not seen anything for sure conclusive. However, it has been reported by multiple outlets to where it's like, okay, this is not a joke that someone overdosed. Someone actually overdosed. It's like now her husband, she was on a ventilator. Her husband had to make the decision, most likely had to make the decision to pull her off a vent. You just went from having a pregnant wife and with a child on the way to a child possibly in the NICU and a dead wife because she was stupid. And I'm sure he probably has TDS just as bad as she did because anyway, it's just sad. Hey, Stanley, liver failure is not a good way to go after a year of pain and much more. My wife passed. I'm so sorry. It still haunts me after 6 years. I can't imagine. I did work on the, I floated to the floor. I was never permanently assigned there where they did transplants, and the jaundice that I've seen in some people was like, I saw someone with lymphedema who was weeping and it looked like you broke a highlighter. And it was like, it was just so uncomfortable. Septum piercing. I thought those were 440 hookups. Yeah, it's like, it is just one of those situations where it's like, how, like, what is that gonna, no offense to any of these people, but let's just have a conversation for a second. Trump might be president and he might care about a lot of people, but like Trump doesn't know me from Adam or Eve in this case. What are you gonna, like, are you trying to make him feel bad? Because I guarantee you you're not. Like, he probably has been told that people are posting on social media and he's probably like, God, people are stupid. And yeah, that baby in the NICU absorbed all that Tylenol through mom's bloodstream. Oh my God, please, why? Yeah, that poor child. To not only grow up without your mother, but to know that your mother caused any problems that you might have, because that baby might not have autism. Maybe not. Maybe not. We don't know. But that child might have a host, if he survives, might have a host of every other issue, from liver issues. That kid might need surgery and a liver transplant. Who knows? I'm speculating based on like liver damage before you're born because your mom was stupid. Hi, beautiful. What are you doing? What you doing? You got ice? Yeah. Liver disease, an infant can't even imagine. And living life, I hope you start feeling better. Oh. I greet people with septum piercings. And stupid is as stupid does. Yes, prayers for the little one, because Lord, like, I mean, that family is ruined because she wanted to spite somebody who doesn't even know she exists. Baby squid fixes everything. That is true. All right, guys. We have been at this for about an hour and 45 minutes. That is all I really had for you guys today. It's just this situation. Like, I am not here to provide medical advice. I am just here to cut through the BS and tell people that not everything that you see in mainstream media is 100% accurate. And if you read and use your critical thinking skills, they debunk their own arguments. These writers aren't very good. Not that I'm a great writer. I'm, you know, I write medical speak. So, however, they debunk themselves. That she, like I said, if I were trying to present my argument as what her argument was and as the truth, I would literally not mention the fact that the freaking company who makes Tylenol lost 2.6 billion. That would be something that I would leave out. I just, And Stats, thanks for the $1.49 super sticker. I really appreciate you. And thanks everybody for hanging out with me. Yes, here, we live in the stupidest timeline there is. Don't let your hate for one person interfere with your common sense, your critical thinking skills. Like, do your own research. Never let someone tell you that science is settled, because it's never settled. It's never settled. That's one of the first things they teach you in like fourth grade science class, is that science is never settled. You come up with a hypothesis, you test it, and if you don't get what you want, you test it again, and you keep testing it. If you change your hypothesis, you test it again. Science is never settled, and if anyone ever tells you that I am the science, you have to believe the science. Take that person and tell them to flock off. And yes, I did get my PayPal. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody who hung out with me on my birthday, and everybody who sent me a birthday wish or helped me out with my Amazon list or anything like that for my birthday. I appreciate it. Y'all mean so much. Hey Squid, they're helping with the 2028 election already. It, there are so many things to say about that. Yeah, believe selected science, though. Yeah, that's why I like meta-analysis, because it covers multiple studies, and not all of those studies generally agree. So, oh, thank you. I am 40 as of yesterday. Yay! But y'all have a great day. I think even though it's super early, I think, let's see. Woo! Let's see. Is anybody live or we can send? Thanks for all the likes on this video. And Roy, how are you? How is the wife? Give her hugs for me if she can tolerate it. Are you on your way home? So, you'll wave at me in about an hour. Let's see. Do I have any place where we can redirect? Because that's always fun. Let's see. Come on, studio, be nice to me today. Do. You're at the hospital waiting on her discharge paperwork. Hope it comes quick and a safe drive home. Oh. Now Squid can go have lots of fun this weekend and avoid the lunacy. There will probably be a There will probably be a stream tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow around noon-ish. If Zach's still listening, I'm going to the gym tomorrow morning. But Comey, I have the indictment. We're going to read James Comey's indictment and see if it's valid, if we agree with it, and if it'll start the cascade of more people being charged with perjury. Because we've been told perjury is a huge thing, but we never see anybody charged with perjury because it's the lowest on the totem pole and courts have been backed up and this and that, and nobody's ever held accountable for lying. Somebody might be being held accountable for lying. So we will go through that. It's only 4 pages. So it's only 4 pages, but we'll go through that tomorrow because it's a good one. But I have us set up to redirect over to Flux. It says she's still alive. I hope she's still alive. Go tell her I said hi and drop a like. And if you don't subscribe to Flux, what are you doing with your life? Y'all have a great day. And remember, don't be an idiot. Don't be stupid. Use common sense. And don't let your hatred get in the way of your common sense. Bye, guys.